Hi, I'm Nighteyes. I'm releasing my debut album, The Way Back Down, on November 10th. It's a sort of journey through a bunch of different kind of emotions and moods. Um, and I really hope you like it.
Beautiful, Rachel. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, as you say, you were releasing your debut album, The Way Back Down, this Friday, November the 10th. So, how are you feeling? You nervous, excited, all of the above?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm also pretty nervous. I think it's my first release with the solo records, solo project. So sort of doing everything kind of myself is a learning curve.
I bet.
But yeah. I'm really looking forward to having this album out. I've been recording it and working on it for 2 years. So yeah, it's going to be nice to have it all done.
I bet. So, tell us a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you're going for with it.
So it's kind of got a bunch of different sounds on it. I'm really inspired by artists like Chelsea Wolfe and Emma Ruth Rundle. Dark Her is another really good one. I really love her stuff. So I really adore the way that some of those artists sort of mix genres a little bit. So there's some electronic sort of vibes in there. There's some heavy doom kind of elements. We've got a little bit of post-rock kind of sounds in there as well. I've kind of made it so all of my kind of influences have come together, and yeah, there's a bit of dark folk in there as well, so kind of got things for everyone if you like dark music.
Now, you mentioned this before, but I think it's important to stress that you are actually a solo project with yourself running the whole show. So, tell us a bit more about Night Eyes.
Yeah, so Nighteyes has been a thing for the last 2 years officially, but it's been something I've wanted to do for a very long time. It was always something I was sort of saying to myself, one day I'll get these songs down, one day I'll do that. And then I think it just sort of the timing was right. And I started to have I had all these songs kind of already written. Some of them I wrote 10 years ago. And so I started demoing them myself, and sort of had the help of my partner, who's my producer, Drew. And yeah, it kind of came from that, and has sort of grown now. I've got a band together, which is really, really exciting. That was another big dream of mine, to play these songs live with a band. And I've sort of I started just playing live shows just solo around about this time last year. And then, yeah, it's sort of come that far. And one of the cool things, and maybe sort of a little bit more stressful things about being a solo artist, like you're paying for everything yourself if you don't have funding. So I decided to play everything on the album myself. So I'm a drummer as well as a singer and a guitarist, and I can kind of play the bass okay too. So I decided I was going to track everything myself, which I feel like it kind of it does feel good to say that I've done that, when it's done. But at the time I was like, oh my God, there's so much to do.
Now, this is your debut album as a solo artist. So, what sorts of things do you focus on or pay extra attention to going into your first album?
I think I was really, really keen to get the sound that I wanted. So we really spent a lot of time just working on sounds, making sure the vibe was there, making sure the songs were as good as they could be. I think because it's my first record, I've put so much effort into it. And I'm not saying I'm not going to do that for the next one. But, you really want it to just be as good as it can be. So, I feel like I could have probably, there were times when I was like, let's just do it now, let's put it out now. But luckily, I thought about it, and my producer Drew thought about it too, and we sort of said, no, if we were going to do it, we may as well do it properly. And there's no rush to release. It's not like I'm, there wasn't any sort of pressure from anyone to be putting it out. So that was really nice. So yeah, just focusing on making sure that it just is exactly what I want it to be, and I'm really happy that we've got that. I think it's the first time in any release that I've done with other projects in this one that I'm really, really happy with everything. So that feels really good.
To date, you've released the singles Plenty, Low Light, and In the Wake. So, say someone's just heard those songs going into the album, like, would you say they're a good sonic representation of what you expect?
Yeah, I think they are, because all three of them kind of have, like, Low Light's kind of got a bit more of an electronica kind of feel to it. And then In the Wake is a very sort of stripped back, dark, kind of folky song. Whereas Plenty kind of starts with some of those elements, and then at the end it kind of gets into this big heavy sort of doomy section. So I think it does really, that those three songs do kind of represent the album in a really good way. And it's actually funny because I didn't super plan it that way with the singles. I just sort of was like, this one and that one. I didn't think, hey, these are all great examples of the sound. That was kind of how that was the songs I was gravitating to at the time of release. So.
Oh. And I noticed that there's no actual song on the album called The Way Back Down, which means it's got to have a greater meaning.
Yeah, so the Way Back Down is a line from the chorus in the last song, Spiral. And that was actually the working title of that song. So the line is Caught in the Way Back Down, and that song is sort of about being stuck in kind of a crappy kind of headspace, I think I wrote it, in the middle of lockdown in Melbourne. And it's sort of, I had this idea in my head of like this kind of spiral going sort of down, but then kind of going back up again. It's sort of like how emotions can kind of take you on these whirlwinds. And then Caught in the Way Back Down is kind of like, oh, here we go again, this emotion's kind of coming back down. But then and so the album is a little bit like that. I've kind of tried to make it in a way that it's almost cyclical in the way that it kind of works. So when I decided that album name, I was really happy with it. I was like, yes, that's exactly it. I didn't even have to think of any other options. So I'm pretty happy with that one.
Very good. The press release says that it is a deeply personal story that guides the listener through a journey of darkness to light. Like, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so some of the songs are pretty personal. Some of them are a little bit more abstract. Like, for instance, Down by the Sea, which is the opener. That's definitely more of a sort of me imagining a story that hasn't really been a part of my life. Whereas songs like My Only One are very sort of my own experience of mental sort of illness, I guess, like anxiety and that kind of thing. So that's pretty personal, and sort of moving through other experiences I've had. I know that, In the Wake and Plenty are definitely sort of inspired by the kind of climate crisis that we have, which is, it felt like a very pressing topic for me for a long time without much movement in the way that things are going. So I think that's kind of part of it too. And then and then Spiral is a very personal song for me. Just, the way that it was written was very much in that lockdown vibe. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And but then at the end, because I didn't want the song to end in a sad sack kind of way, which My Only One, I guess, kind of does that. But Spiral, I wanted it to kind of be uplifting. So there's this really, uplifting part of the end of the song. It kind of goes back to a diatonic kind of chord progression with these sort of soaring kind of melodies. And it kind of relates back to this night that I had in lockdown where I was, I was just in this space where I was feeling really terrible. And then sort of going through all these thought loops and stuff like that. And then the end of the night, I went outside and there was this really amazing sunrise, which just felt really kind of transformative in a way. It's like, here we are stuck in this horrible situation, and yet nature is still doing these amazing things around us. Kind of got me out of that. And the funniest thing is that I actually wrote Spiral like 2 weeks before that actually happened. So wow. that felt really special. So that's kind of the story of the album, I guess. I didn't really plan it that way when all these songs have been written in so many different times. Down by the Sea, I started writing in 2010. So, but yeah, they just all have come together in a really amazing way. So it's pretty special.
You've also got a bit of a background in the circus and cabaret, so tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been doing a bit of touring with some professional circus shows. So we'd go to places like Adelaide Fringe, Edinburgh Fringe, and it's actually really special with one of the shows because that's kind of how I started doing the Nighteyes stuff, because the show's called The Defiant, and it's I think there's 8 AFAB performers, so all acrobatics, jugglers, hula hoops, all that kind of stuff, the classic kind of circus vibe, and then me playing the music. So I play drums, guitar, and I sing, all with kind of backing tracks to back me up. And when we were doing the development for the show, the producer asked me if I had any original songs. So I hadn't even really demoed these ones yet, but I sent her what I had of Low Light, In the Wake, and Spiral. And she really loved those 3. So we put those in the show, and I suddenly had to start recording them because I needed to have something to play along to. And that kind of actually got me thinking, oh, wow, I should really start this project. This is the perfect time to actually start doing this properly. So that's great. And so that's why, Low Light came out during Adelaide Fringe last year, and In the Wake was the same time this year for the Adelaide Fringe season. And it's been a wonderful time to be performing on stage doing music, but having this amazing visual, like you've got aerialists, like it's just wild what these people can do, and to be part of that is really special. So it's been really fun.
And not only do you actually drop the album on November the 10th, but you've also got an album launch at Whole Lot of Love. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to have that gig happen this Friday. We're going to be playing the full album with the band, and Ocean Lord are the main support. So Ocean Lord are this amazing sort of stoner doom band from Melbourne. They've got some incredible music, and we've also got Maggie Rachel Lockhart opening up, who's a solo artist, and she plays just the most beautiful music that I think I've ever heard. So I'm really excited. It's going to be a really special night, and I'm hoping we get some good crowds in, and I'm going to have I've got some t-shirts to sell and some merch and stuff, which I'm super excited about too. So it's going to be really special.
Oh, so thanks very much for your time today, Rachel. It's been a pleasure. The album, The Way Back Down, is out November 10th, with album launch on the same night at Whole Lot of Love Bar. So best of luck with it all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.